Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about the heat waves that has been sweeping northern and northwestern part of India and even some part of peninsular India for quite some weeks. So whether heat waves are considered as a type of natural disaster in India? If no, then why not? What are the regions or criteria before any disaster can be classified as natural hazard? What is the Disaster Management Act and the role of the NDMA and other agencies involved in disaster, including heat waves. So first of all, to give you a brief background about why this particular news is making the headlines. So the north part of India, more specifically we talk about, has been bearing the brunt of a severe to very severe heat waves, and also what we can consider to be the longest stretch of heat waves that this region has encountered in last 15 years. So at least as a result of these, hundreds of people have died from the heat related illnesses such as heat strokes. And also between March 1 to June 18, this is data from last 3 months alone, and likely to be significantly underreported because many of the deaths that happen as a result of heat related illnesses are sometimes categorized as a death by other factors such as death by what we can say cardiac arrest or other kind of diseases we can understand. So the high number of deaths have revived discussion on whether heat waves should be labeled as a natural disaster or what is the ground of not labeling it, and what is the impact that it will have if heat wave is included as a natural disaster in India. So first of all, if you talk about the natural disaster generally in India, the key piece of legislation that govern all the natural disaster is the Disaster Management Act passed in year 2005 by the Parliament, especially after the devastating tsunami that India witnessed along its coastline. Now, for any kind of response that central government or state government have to have in the case of a time of natural disaster is something that is guided by this particular piece of legislation. Now, as per the Disaster Management Act of 2005, it is the Ministry of Home Affairs of India which has been designated as the nodal body that governs the execution of the Disaster Management Act. Also, several other disaster management authorities are there, such as at national level we have NDMA, Disaster Management Authority. At a state level, you have a state disaster management authority. At district level, you have DDMA. Also, you have National Executive Committee, Cabinet Committee on Security, and several other organizations and bodies. They also draw most of their power from the Disaster Management Act. This also includes an organization which is a response force, that is National Disaster Response Force, which responds in case of rescue and relief that is required in any kind of disasters. Now also this act is the one that defines which natural calamities in India can qualify for state backed compensation that is given from the NDRF at national level, that is National Disaster Response Fund, and at state level, states have access to another fund that is called as SDRF, that is State Disaster Response Fund. So unless and until a calamity or natural calamity has not been categorized as a natural disaster, the restriction is imposed on how much grants or how much compensation can be given from the NDRF or the SDRF. So in this context, we try to understand that in India, and as per the Disaster Management Act of 2005, as of now, total 12 disasters are there that are notified in the guidelines on constitution and administration of both NDRF and SDRF. In other way, only these 12 disasters that you see on the board here can get fund from NDRF and SDRF. These are cyclones, drought, earthquake, fire, especially forest fire, floods, tsunami, hailstorm, landslide, avalanche, cloudburst, pest attack, frost, and very interestingly, cold wave. So, cold wave is something that has been included in natural disaster and natural hazard. However, heat wave have not been included in this. So, basically, heat waves are yet to be included, and this has to do with a government body that is unconnected to the institutions that is under the National Disaster Management Act. So which organization is responsible for non-classification or non-categorization of heat wave in the natural disaster list? This organization is the Finance Commission, and more accurately, it was the 15th Finance Commission headed by N.K. Singh, which basically, if we talk about Finance Commission also briefly, it is a constitutional body which is set up mainly to decide upon the sharing of revenues that need to happen between the central government and the state government. Now, as per the 15th Finance Commission, it made an observation. It said that the list of notified disasters, the 12 notified disasters that we have, which are eligible for funding both from the SDRF and NDRF, covers the needs of the state to a large extent. And thus, 15th Finance Commission has noted that it did not find any merit in the request to expand its scope and also include heat wave under this categorization. Now, if talk about the state governments, many state governments which have been bearing the brunt of the heat waves have appealed to expand the scope of natural calamities that can be considered as a disaster, as this makes them eligible for more funds, as we have discussed. So, in this context, if we try to understand that still as of now, heat waves are not categorized as a natural disaster under DMI. So, what are the options that the states have in case heat wave hasn't going on in their state? So, state government can use up to 10% of the fund that they can get from the SDRF, allocation of the SDRF, with certain caveats obviously are there, certain catches are there, for providing immediate relief to the victims of a natural disaster. Now, these 10% of fund from SDRF does not have to be given only to the 12 listed disaster. Rather, it can be given to other than the aforementioned 12 disaster, which the state government has a discretionary power to categorize. And then, if the state government considers them to be a disaster, especially we talk about a local disaster within a local context in the state, then this is the fund that they can get from the SDRF. Now, the compensation awarded to those confirmed by state authorities as having succumbed to heat waves comes from these tranches. That means, as of now, whatever compensation state governments have been given or have been giving to the recipients, it is coming from this 10% limit which they have that they can draw from the SDRF. So, state governments have been continuously arguing, and also they are demanding the inclusion of heat wave in a state in a notified disaster. So, with the constitution of the 16th Finance Commission, under the chairmanship of Dr. Arvind Pangaria, who was also before the vice chairman of Niti Aayog and professor of Columbia University, maybe he will take, or the 16th Finance Commission will take a fresh look on this demand and again will inspect the merit of including or not including the heat wave as the natural disasters. So, we have talked so much about heat waves. Let us try also to understand that what do we mean by the term heat wave in the context of India specifically. So, in the context of India, it is the IMD, Indian Meteorological Department, that has given the definition or classification of heat waves. So, first of all, the first criteria to classify heat wave in India is for the temperature to reach minimum 40 degrees Celsius in the plain area and minimum 30 degrees Celsius in the hilly area. Then consideration can be made. Now, once this temperature is reached, and suppose if temperature is above 40 degrees Celsius, the departure from the average or general temperature at that point at that particular period of time should be more than 4 to 5 degrees Celsius. That means, let us say the temperature, normal average temperature every year at a particular place is 42 degrees. So, for classification to be of heat, for the heat wave to be classified, that temperature need to be 46 to 47 degrees Celsius. Similarly, if we talk about such areas where temperature is at or below 40 degrees Celsius, then the deviation or departure from normal should be 5 to 6 degrees Celsius or even higher than that. In this also, there is other categorization which we call as severe heat wave. So, severe heat wave is classified again if temperature is above 40 degrees Celsius and is departure from normal is 6 degrees Celsius or more. That means, let us say again, at a particular place, the average general temperature remains around 42 degrees Celsius and currently the temperature is 49 degrees Celsius, then it can be classified as a severe heat wave. For those places where temperature is at or below 40 degrees Celsius, departure need to be 7 degrees Celsius or more. Also, one more thing we can add, when should a heat wave be declared? In simple way, we can say the area which is continental area far away from the coast, the temperature should be at or above 45 degrees Celsius as general rule. While in the coastal area, temperature need to be at or above 40 degrees Celsius. So, if any of these criteria are met, then the IMD can declare that heat wave is in heat wave is going on. Now, as a result of heat wave, IMD has to issue warning, and IMD issues 4 different color coded warning with respect to the heat waves. The first is what we can call as a red alert, which refers to the severe heat wave like condition. So this is issued when they have extreme heat alerts for the day and normal maximum temperature increases 6 degrees Celsius or more from the general temperature of that place. Second warning, that is called as orange alert, which refers to the moderate condition. This is referred as heat alert day, and this is declared when normal maximum temperature increases more than 4 degree to 5 degrees Celsius in a given place. Third is yellow alert, which is a heat wave warning that refers to a hot day. Now, hot day or the yellow alert is given when the normal temperature or the given temperature is nearby normal maximum temperature that is generally recorded in that particular place. And last is white coded warning, white this alert that refers to normal situation, which is a normal day when temperature is below the normal maximum temperature of any given stations. So that is how we can understand the 4 different color coded warning issued by the Indian Meteorological Department. Now, what about the cases of heat waves in India? Has it been increasing, the extent of heat waves, the number of deaths? Let us try to have a look also. So if you talk about at the all India level, if you measure the data or look at the data right from 2012 to 2021, we see that we do not have any kind of particular trend in the what we can say as the number of deaths. In 2012, 2013, 2014, we have the deaths in the range of 1,200. Then 2015, it became almost 1,900. Then in 2016, again it reduced. And again from 2016 to 18, it kept on reducing. In 2019, again it increased. Again, since 2019, it has been reducing. So in year 2023, there was zero this death related heat waves, while in this particular year, almost 100 deaths have happened as a result of heat waves. Again, the accuracy of data we cannot be very sure about because many heat related deaths are reported by the otherwise reasons also. Similarly, if you look at the heat wave or number of heat wave days in India, obviously we see a spike every now and then. So if you look at the year 2010, total number of heat wave days were 279. Then we have 201 in 2012. Then the heat wave days were somewhere in the range of 100 or less than 100. Again in 2019, we have a spike where 174 days of heat waves recorded. And in 2022, if you look at here, the number of heat wave days were 280. So in 2022, the number of heat wave days were more than the last 3 years combined. So in 2023, again the situation was normal. Again in 2024, the number of heat wave days has become much more higher and much more longer. So overall, we cannot find a fixed pattern of the deaths or the number of heat wave days. Now, what are the measures that has been taken as of now to ensure that the casualty from the heat waves are less and also the response of the state and central government are adequate in nature? So in this context, with the help of 2 organizations, Indian Meteorological Department as well as the National Disaster Management Authority, the frequency of heat waves has been continuously rising. So these 2 organizations, along with the state government, district officials, as well as the cities organizations, have prepared what we call as HAP, that is the Heat Action Plan. Now, under the Heat Action Plan, several things are recorded. These are a snapshot of region's heat profile, that means how temperature increases or decreases in a particular region, number of past heat wave events, then yearly trends in the summer maximum temperature, in which month it increases, which month it reduces, land surface temperature, and based on several other data, finally a vulnerability assessment is done. The vulnerability assessment largely is based on mapping out of regions that require immediate attention and a response plan. And based on that, the state resources as well as the central government resources are basically in this, what we can say, focused on these areas. So this is all what we can understand is the measures that has been taken as of now. Now, whether 16th Finance Commission decide to include heat wave as a natural disaster or not, that remains to be seen. That is all for this particular video. Thank you very much.